So I walked the governor to work this morning.
Did you have anything to say to him?
Yeah.
How was he feeling today?
He was busy. He was on the phone, and I interrupted his phone call. It was great.
Early morning.
Yeah, it was great. He was ordering a pizza.
I don't doubt that. McDonald's, maybe.
SativaCross.com presents Thursday's podcast here at the Trenton Statehouse.
That doesn't really clear it up when you say Thursday podcast, because this is our 62nd Thursday podcast.
So yeah, I did walk the governor to work this morning. He was on the phone.
Did you carry his books?
I said to him, Governor, are you going to protect the rights of gun owners? He's like, I already did. I'm like, no, for PTSD patients, for medical cannabis patients. Are you going
did you really?
Yes. And he says, you guys always want something.
Wow. So he basically learned from his de facto other boss not to go ahead and make definitive statements towards anything like that. So basically, he wouldn't say, I'm going to protect gun owners' rights of veterans who have post-traumatic stress and are in our program so they don't kill themselves. And basically what he's saying is if they weren't in the program, there's not a problem with them having guns. But I see a problem with that because you don't want somebody that is to the state where they would take their own life, because it's like not standardly considered clear thinking. I mean, it's clouded through their condition. And I would love them to take whatever works best to relieve that. I don't care what it is. So if it was like, well, you have to have it under lock and key within your home or something like that. Okay, if nobody else does. And
We have dueling soundmen here today.
Yes, this is an interesting day. Our 62nd podcast.
Poor Brian. I feel bad for Brian over there. They threw him under the bus. Like, here, Brian, go set up some sound. Set up all your sound. Set up $10,000 worth of sound equipment. Go. And now deal with Lefty. Now you got to deal with Lefty Grimes. And I'm like, Brian, we have to move this. We have to do this. We have to do that. We should have coordinated this yesterday.
Well, that's partially my fault. I didn't ask Charles.
Well, thank you. I was looking to blame somebody.
Well, no, I didn't ask Charles what kind of sound system. Normally when somebody says they're going to have an event from the steps, it's the
podium.
The podium.
And the little dinky speaker.
Have there, right.
These guys brought out like a rave.
And we thought
it's like a rave going on here.
We thought we were doing them a favor.
Where's the pacifiers?
By saying, well, then you can use our speaker system if you'd like, because it's really good.
Yeah, we offered our stuff to them. They laughed at us.
Well, why didn't he laugh?
You have speakers.
He should have laughed at me then. This is kind of odd that the camera's to the left.
To the left.
My left to your left.
To the
it's
left.
always to the right. We're in a different spot because the new fantastic sound system would have left speakers right behind us.
Right. The rave party is over here, and our podcast party is over here.
Now, what's going to happen today is this is right now the CMMJ Weekly Thursday Statehouse Medical Marijuana Podcast brought to you by Sativa Cross. What's
brought to you by CMMNJ?
Well, no, it's brought to you by CMMNJ, put on by Sativa Cross. We sponsor you.
I don't sponsor you.
No.
But we both get sponsored by Magical Butter.
We do. And Coalition does, they throw some sponsorship money as they can.
I love it.
But, and as I do, and, we're going to beg for donations with a little jar over here in a little bit. So what's the plan then? Basically, CMMJ is a 501c3, and some of the people are a little bit skittish about when we sponsor something that has anything to do politically. So what I'm going to do, and it's probably going to be best for them too, as they begin, I'm going to take down the banner. And all the cones stay up, and the sign in the center stays up, and we only have a couple other signs.
You're trying to fool everyone.
No,
you're creating an illusion.
Yeah, basically,
You're creating your own
yeah,
optics.
Yeah, you can.
You're like manipulating the optics here.
You're gonna stop the podcast,
Wink, wink.
and then it will no longer be a CMMMJ sponsored podcast for the duration of that, because we sponsor cannabis-related things, so we can't be considered a sponsor, and that's good enough for me. You know.
Okay. Fair enough.
Yeah, and this way we can also broadcast whatever's going on, because you get to do whatever you want. Subject matter outside of this podcast, you know, we of course confer on things that we're going to broadcast more as we go. Like, shouldn't have said that, too late, you know, but it works. You get to pretty much say whatever you want, and keeping in mind, of course, that we may develop some crossover support today from the people attending this, because after all, it's through our good graces, through your good graces, that they're allowed to set up here.
Let me get the parameters straight now. Locker talk, good or bad today? Is this for locker talk or
Well,
no?
you mean
Against.
like, how was the game today? Is your backhand getting better? You know, no, it's not, because it's not.
Okay.
No,
We're against that today. We're always against that, but
yeah, well,
even more so
okay,
today.
Yes, while they're doing their event and we're covering it,
Right.
we're going to try, you know, we're going to try to, like, fool people into thinking we're, like, more mainstream than anything. And, you know, your "don't shoot, I'm white" shirt doesn't give it away. That we're not quite that.
What was that, Tony? I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you. Talk into the mic. Talk into the mic. We might as well make a bit out of this. Go ahead.
I talked to Jim over here, and he said that the senator wants to turn their music up and get their program started.
What time?
They start now.
Oh, they want to start now? Yeah. Are they here? Are they ready to go? Yeah. Okay. Okay. Well, what do you want to do?
Well,
do we have an hour of what's going on here?
We want to turn ours down.
Yeah, we'll do that.
Going, but we can broadcast what we want.
Okay.
I mean, I'll hear you, you'll hear me, but they won't hear us.
Okay, so how long are we going to be off for? I need to know the parameters, so I need to know what's going on here.
Tell people what's going on.
I thought we were off from 12 to 1, but apparently we're 11:30 now. I just need to know.
They were going to gather at 11:30.
Okay.
So it's already 11:18. It's kind of close.
All right.
You know, and
talking to the mic, Jim. You're on the radio.
It's
you know, we're doing a podcast.
Well,
you know,
we
geez,
didn't
really?
we didn't turn it down yet. I thought, no, wait a minute, it's turned down.
You're turned down because you're not.
This is what it's going to sound like. No, that's what I was talking about. Turned down.
Yeah, we want the millions of listeners to hear.
It's that we get to talk about whatever we want. We can talk about medical marijuana in the voice that I'm talking about now. You know, where it's not going to. It's almost like a tennis match. Well, you know, we're going to keep our voice down a little.
Okay.
Close, and we can get all close to that. But whatever. We'll just have some fun.
Okay.
You know, we'll check to see if they hear us by saying some of those shots.
Oh, I could just do my thing.
Yeah.
No problem. But yesterday was actually a good day. We went to the Bayonne.
Oh, how'd that work out?
Wheelchair crawl, I'll call it. We took a wheelchair and a patient, Michelle Burns, and we drove around Bayonne in a wheelchair and saw what businesses we can't get into, which was a lot. There's a lot of businesses with steps in Bayonne, and you just can't get into these businesses as a disabled person.
No handicapped accessible.
I'm sorry, William, go ahead.
No handicapped accessible?
Not in Bayonne. There's a lot of old buildings in Bayonne. So this handicapped person was turned away by about 20 businesses while she's trying to get, into a flower store, get her nails done, buy some groceries. She couldn't do any of those things. She had to actually knock on the window outside. Now, if it was raining, she'd be sitting there getting wet, waiting for someone to open the door to tell her she can't come in. Or snowing. Right, inclement weather.
Exactly.
Do we really want that?
That's not good.
No, and I ran into, of course, that problem with well, if they're going to play something like this, I mean, come on, this is great.
Okay, that might be a little too much, though. I'm just saying. Well, I guess I'm going to go smoke my joint now. Nothing really much for me to say here.
Well, then I'm going to stay in Manhattan.
I told you, said he wanted to turn his music on now.
Well, Aretha is one of the all-time greats, and
Lemon Haze. You want me to roll Lemon Haze?
this is probably one of her top 3 songs, and I like this. Freedom, right?
Yes.
So we're here fighting for freedom here in Trenton. So
Yeah,
are we going to be able to podcast like this, Jim? I don't know. What do you think?
Well, I think it depends on how it's going to sound to people that are listening to us. I have no problem at all.
I mean, I would like to podcast, but I didn't expect to. Are we doing an hour and a half of this now? Is it suddenly from 11:30 to 1 now? I just want to know.
That would be the outside. I haven't talked to Charles yet.
All right,
But again, every step that we go past the line, if there's anything coming back our way, it's just going to be bigger.
Okay, I'm down for whatever, Jim. You're the
Okie
boss.
dokie.
I'm just trying to present a good show here, and I don't know how good
Yeah.
it's going to be with.
Well,
I'm trying, though.
Again, I have no trouble talking to you with this on at all.
Okay, well then let's do it. Let's have
But-
our podcast.
yeah.
And why are we shutting our mouths because there's music on? I'm ready to talk.
Okay, well, if this wasn't going out over our speakers,
not.
though. Yeah. Well, I do hear it. This is one of our other top 3 songs.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm surprised state police let it go that loud.
Oh,
anyway.
yeah, that's helpful, actually. That's actually helpful. Thank you. Yeah. Okay, yeah, I can hear you now. That's a little better. Good morning. How are you? My name's Lefty.
I didn't get a chance to meet.
Charles Williams, nice to meet you. You want to grab a mic? Can I talk to you for a second on a mic? Yeah, grab that black mic right there. How are you doing, sir?
Good, Lefty.
What are you doing here?
Well, I actually work for Assemblywoman Sheila Oliver.
Okay, cool. I think we're a fan of hers, actually. Yeah, yeah. We like her.
Well, we hope so.
Yeah, I'm a cannabis patient. I think she supports cannabis laws in New Jersey, right? Am I right or no? I think she has in the past.
I think she has in the past.
Yeah. I know I'm not putting you on the spot. Most compassionate people do, so I'm assuming.
With Ken Walski in the house, we don't have to think or wonder. If Ken says that Sheila Oliver has voted correctly, then she has. This is the man that knows the votes, the years, the dates, the time.
Yes.
Co-founder of the coalition, along with me. Now, we're not broadcasting, so we didn't interrupt the audio, but we're hopeful to broadcast what's going on.
Okay.
And if you have headphones on, you'd be hearing what we're saying real good, so the audience
Yeah.
can hear what we're saying. So
What's your demonstration today? You're having a little rally here?
Yeah, the demonstration today is being hosted by the Women Against Sexual Harassment, and they are
Good one.
And they're coming to Trenton to denounce Donald Trump's comments and his sexual harassment behavior, and also to ask the governor to resign from the transition team.
awesome.
From Trump's transition team.
Yeah, from Trump's transition team.
We
geez,
operate
that's-
under the Spartan rule of the enemy of my enemy is my friend. But I agree, this is something, it doesn't take much to get us to coalesce. And so it'd be, no, I'm going to take down the coalition sign as you begin, just so we don't appear to be taking part in a political process where other board members are like, I didn't know about that. We got some skittish people on the board.
Yeah.
And we appreciate today.
But
that
also,
you,
we don't want it to over mesh with what you're doing. So we'll just have our sign up
we
out
are
there
a
about our
501c3.
footprint.
We're a 501c3 nonprofit educational organization, so we can't take part in any political.
Well, this is not political. This is nonpartisan today. This is from women from all over the state and men coming to support the women
Well, you can leave
today.
the
But this
sign
is
up.
a
I mean,
nonpartisan
Great.
press conference and rally.
That'll be up to Ken.
Just to
Sign
raise
up.
awareness.
Just to raise the awareness.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay.
What time do you expect to get started?
We're going to get started at noon.
At noon?
And
People should
equally,
be arriving.
equally as important for my tech guy here that runs the show, he needs to know about how long you think it might last, if you have any
It's
idea.
probably going to last about a half an hour.
Okay.
Oh, that's it?
Yeah, well, we were
Okay.
we were
45
building
minutes.
in a little extra time, so
Right.
we're not going to be starting to make signs at you to hurry up.
No,
but
no, no.
see, we just need to coordinate as good as we could with everybody
Yeah,
here, and
that's all.
we were set up over there, and then it wasn't going to work. So I carry the tent top down very carefully. With
Yeah,
everything
good
hugged
job.
up.
We truly appreciate you coalitioning with us today.
Yeah, well, we're glad we could support
Yeah.
women against sexual harassment.
Yeah. That's
You know,
very
it certainly is an issue that
And
we believe firmly in,
I
and
personally-
we take a very strong stance against any kind of discrimination.
But what I didn't like, what really got me going, was when the explanation originally was, it's just words. It's never just words. When you call somebody fat, it's not just words. And the things he said are not just words. When put together in the order he spoke them, it's very offensive, even to me.
Yeah,
and
Mr.
you got to
Trump
go a
has
long
been
way.
very hurtful to women across this country, and and the women are coming today to speak out against it.
Good, good. I look forward to hearing it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Let me ask you a question. What made you get involved in this movement?
Well, I work for the Assemblywoman.
Okay. But you obviously support this, though. I mean, do you know anybody that? Because I grew up in an abusive household. I know all about this kind of
I
stuff.
know women
So
that have been sexually harassed.
yeah. It's tough.
Do you know how many other legislators are going to be here?
Well, her colleagues are going to come outside and join her. I don't know how many,
Okay.
but quite a few of them are going to come out and join her.
Oh, great.
Awesome.
All right.
All right, cool. I'm not breaking the law, by the way, by rolling a joint here. I'm actually doing this by the law, by Kuma guidelines. I'm allowed to roll a joint here. I can't smoke it here. The state police gave us a spot across the street to go smoke, which is why I have to go.
Well,
So I have,
it
yeah.
looks like it's medical.
Yeah, this is medical cannabis.
Well, he's a very in pain
we have
patient.
we had, until the governor put some blocks in the road and the guy actually had to go out of business in Montclair. But we had a big dispensary, medical marijuana dispensary in Montclair. And I really felt for that guy because he pushed hard and he labored hard and he invested money, and then
He's still
It's
there.
not open now? I thought he was open,
still there.
but
he's
yeah,
still there.
yeah, he's
but
still there,
he's,
but very
he's
on a limited basis.
On a limited
yeah.
basis,
Right.
yeah.
And before, I don't know if you saw the sign that explains the cones here, but next time you pass by that right out there, there's a couple of cones with a sign on it. You might want to take a look at that. I think it'll bring somewhat of a smile to your face.
All right.
It's a foot traffic
And-
study.
Yeah.
And I told Ken last week that I had an uncle that, and I'm going to get off the mic after this, but I had an uncle many years ago that came in from California, and he was using medical marijuana from California because he had a tumor that was growing, and he was a former New Jersey State policeman. He was shot in the line of duty by friendly fire. He took a full
Imagine that.
disability, moved to California, and became a lawyer. But he was my father's brother, and so
Sorry for your loss.
Just
Yeah,
shows that
yeah, it
anybody
was-
can get sick and anybody
anybody-
can get injured
anybody
and
can get
need
sick.
medical marijuana.
Yep.
You know,
So-
Republicans, Democrats, it doesn't discriminate at all.
no, it doesn't.
Okay.
Thank
All
you.
All right,
Thank you.
this
Thank you, sir.
Charles Williams, legislative staff of Assemblywoman Sheila Oliver. Thanks for taking the time, Charles.
Thank you, sir.
Anybody walking over here?
I turned that camera. Is it back? I wanted to get Charles on the camera. It looks like it's where you like it now.
Yeah, I don't want anybody walking here.
No.
That's all.
When you talk with that in your mouth, you look a little like the penguin.
Relax. I'm going across the street. Here's your headphones. I'm gonna make a few phone calls for you guys in a bit. Ken Wolski, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you. And Bill Caruso's here right now too, walking by, one of the leaders of New Jersey United for Marijuana Reform.
Back from
So-
Colorado. Back from a fact-finding trip.
Tell us about it. Take a mic. Sure. Come on. Oh no, this is great, Bill. So Bill Caruso was part of the fact-finding trip in Colorado with legislative committee, Senator Scutari, and there are about 9 legislators. Bill.
It was a good mix. Not everybody that's there yet, and I think that was helpful too, to having folks that I think are still skeptical about this to go see it.
Yeah.
It was my first time ever to be in Colorado and ever to be in a legalized environment, and I'm impressed by really 2 things. Number one. If you weren't looking for it, you wouldn't notice it. It's not in your face. It's not prevalent. So for those that are concerned or that don't want to be involved, with marijuana, it's not in your face. I mean, we were mostly in Denver. Denver has some, I think, stricter controls on this. It was very subtle. I mean, these stores look like anything you'd see on a storefront in a downtown area. Very professional, very well done. The thing that was most impressive about, though, is how much the government and the industry, put aside that this is a very highly regulated area, just how seamless everything was. The government, regulators, and the industry meet regularly, work regularly together in real time to develop new regulations, new protections. And I'll give you an example. We got to tour one of the processing facilities where they make brownies and candies and things of that nature.
I read about that in the paper.
It was incredible. And the guy that ran the facility told me how they have a alcohol extraction room, and he took us into it where they extract the THC via alcohol. And he said it's a highly flammable area, right? And there were very significant concerns about using this technology. So he showed the room. Everything was grounded. All of the electrical devices in the room were protected. And they designed this whole thing out of whole cloth. And I said, well, how did you work with the town? He said, what were the regs that were set? He goes, we wrote them as we went. We had town engineers. We had our own engineers. We had goals in mind of what we wanted to get to. He said there really wasn't any precedent here to work off of this, so we developed it together, and we set an industry standard by doing that. Literally wrote this as they went. It's just amazing. And, whether it's cannabis or electricity or widgets, to see how the industry is working so closely together with government to make this work, make it right, it was impressive. It really was.
That's great. And you also met with some government officials, health department people, or that kind of thing?
We did. It was an intensive, really 2-day experience. So the first part was folks from the governmental side, both staff and administration, regulators, plus the lawmakers that were there, some of whom admitted they weren't for this originally, but how they got there, which was helpful, I think, to some of our lawmakers.
Very helpful to the people that were like Assemblyman D. Scanlon, is that his name?
Declan O'Scanlan was there, yep.
Yeah, a Republican who actually would not surprise me if he took the information he gained there and become more supportive, actually. I mean, it's a great thing to be going on now, ahead of when we think it'll be signed into law. So good for everybody for taking it this seriously.
And I'll single somebody out. I mean, she's a friend, and I really like her, and I think she's one of the more responsible folks here. Assemblywoman Pam Lampett was out on this trip. She's the chair of the Women and Children and Families Committee in the Assembly, right? And it's a tough committee for her, right? And to be on this issue. She's been out there on medicinal issues for us, right? She worked on some of the issues for the barbers and some of the things that we've been working on with allowing a better medicinal program. But she admitted she was on this trip. She said, I'm not sure I'm there yet, but this trip has helped me get there and answer some of my questions.
I would have hoped, being on the same trip with Senator Scutari, she might say, are we getting anywhere with a companion bill to 2852?
We'll talk about that offline. I did a little bit of work on that.
I'm just saying that here. I'm hearing they're in the same place in Colorado, and Laura's going to give her daughter medicine or take her out of school every afternoon.
Yep.
I don't know why anybody doesn't feel the clock ticking other than us.
We're closer on that one.
I trust you. See, this is great talking to somebody you trust. And when Reed Gusiora was coming on in, he took a picture of the sign we have up there and Snapchatted it on the way in. The one with me, Bill Baroni, and Governor Christie.
I love it.
I added it under Bill Baroni, now appearing at federal court in Newark, New Jersey. I want to make sure people understand that a triumvirate standing up there with the foot traffic study. But and then like when you sit here and say something like that, I feel like I don't have to filter it. And when he goes in and goes, I'll be in touch with you. I'm like, every time a legislator tells me that, they're blowing me off. It's real nice to know because, Ken, when you hear a legislator, I'll be in touch. A lot of the time, it's not somebody you have a relationship with.
It is, and I look at it this way. This is our issue. This is something that we care a lot about. You guys, more importantly, are focused on this on a fairly regular basis. I dabble, I jump in and out on this, but for their folks in there's a million things they're working on, right? So this isn't always at the forefront of everything they're working on. Our job, though, as advocates and lobbyists, is to make them pay attention to this. And there's varied ways to do that. There's some ways where you can be respectful and you're working with them. There's sometimes a little bit of agitation helps too.
Yeah, like Combs.
And you guys have balanced both very, very well.
We try.
You do. There's a time for advocacy.
Jacket and tie, short sleeve shirt. We got it all.
You got to cover both sides. I think the benefit for us now, though, is medicinal expansion has become a lot easier, right? It was almost impossible, and that seems to be where it's going. Somebody asked me, well, why don't we just keep going then? I said, because we're going to limit ourselves. And I think that we limit ourselves in the ability to progress in new research areas. I think we limit ourselves, and some folks don't want to hear this, but there's potential revenue that we can benefit here from the state that can help in a lot of other ways. And I saw what Colorado did in a very responsible way, and I think that a legalized recreational economy is fair, right, and safe. And Colorado's a big shining example of that. They've done a miraculous job, and their teen drug use has gone down. They don't have this, the sky is falling that everybody keeps telling you about.
People, if you ask people, what do you think of teen drug use in Colorado has done, they're not going to guess it's gone down. This is, again, part of our job to make sure we include that. And
Right.
it's nice to be able to say that legislators have gone over there because, like you said, they had no model to work off of. We do. And how much do you think of what they're doing might translate to what we might want to do here in New Jersey?
You know, it's amazing, too, that I think they also got to see the different offerings. So in these dispensaries you go through, you can see, some of this stuff, and I'll make a joke about it, but THC-infused soda. Okay, if that's your thing, right? I mean, they're very low dosage. I think it's 10 milligrams is the baseline for everything. So in some cases, depending on what your tolerance is, you might not even know that unless you knew that you took it, then you're maybe feeling a little bit. So others that aren't at use may have a more profound effect. But then I was looking at, they have these topical lotions. So somebody that's afflicted with arthritis, right, that has been taking heavy painkillers or like over-the-counter painkillers that might give them some irritation in their stomach. But apparently these profound impacts of these topical creams that are having these really, really good impacts on from a therapeutic side. That
We've come a long way.
It really is incredible.
I used to use butter on Cheryl's left shoulder because she would cry out in pain otherwise when I'd change her, and I'd have to roll her on the side left and right. And with the butter, it was more, but without it, she was
it's really painful.
very audibly in pain. And actually, I recorded that one time and played it at a press conference Montel was at.
They're back today. I got back yesterday late. The rest I think came back either today or last night as well. They're going to hold a press conference here. The elected officials
Really?
a little bit, just talking about next steps. Some very good positive comments. And the Senate president was out there. He got to tour one of these places. He seems very committed to getting this done.
When's the press?
I think I saw 12:30 inside.
Yeah. Then if you have
12:30.
any
Do
time
you know
at
where,
all.
What's that?
Where exactly inside?
Inside the Statehouse. I'm gonna find that right now for you.
Great.
If you at all have time to pass by here on the way out and let us know what happened, that'd be great.
Okay.
I'm gonna find out for you right now. Is this your music or your guests?
It's our guests.
Guests. Yeah, we're really acquiescing to what
women-
needs to be done here today. This is not on Lefty's top ways to podcast, but I think we got things kind of straightened out. And Charles said it might not go much past 12:30.
You guys are good neighbors.
Well,
Women-
here's the thing.
Women against sexual harassment, too. So.
And let me be pragmatic, if I may. People always are saying, this is nice that actually they can't hear me. It's a private conversation outside of the people here. Well, if you got to give money for access, you got to give money for access. And people from left and right say that. So we don't have money to do that. So even if we think that's absolutely true, what we can do is a favor for somebody when they need a favor. And this is one that not much of a favor. Yeah, so this is like new territory. I'm even confused because the State House is to my right, and it's been to my left all year.
This is a new world.
Yeah.
It's here's the beauty of this. It's being part of the neighborhood, right?
Yeah.
Common ground, common threads. These groups, they're part of the progressive movement. In fact, I think that at some point, the public employees unions might want to jump onto this. This is a beneficial effort for folks that are always fighting for more funding.
Another
right?
thing, it's a little Spartan of a saying, but the enemy of my enemy is my friend.
They are.
So that's the most rudimentary form of coalescing to me. And I don't see anybody here that minds the cones or anything because
Penny.
it's that same thing.
This
it's
is
an interesting
this is
day.
Hetty Rosenstein, who is one of the heads of the public employees unions. She is one of the most outstanding advocates for progressive policies in our state. One of the best fighters that we have, and as we said, Ken Walski and Jim Miller, who are
Retired
advocates on the medicinal
CWA
side.
member for 25 years.
Oh, that's great. Where do you work?
Oh, no, I retired from the Department of Corrections. I was an RN there for 22 years, and then I worked at the Trenton Psychiatric Hospital for another 4 years.
We're just saying how we're all part of the neighborhood, all part of the effort. Everybody's working together. These guys were kind enough to offer their.
Oh, yeah,
we're
we've-
happy to do it today for you.
Very, very happy to support women against sexual harassment.
We've had 62 Thursday podcasts and never broken stride. With our speakers now, I'll talk louder. We've never broken stride. 62 podcasts at the Statehouse on Thursday. This is the first time we're standing back and saying, what can we do to help you make this happen?
Is that when you're doing it, you do every Thursday?
Every Thursday.
Every Thursday. We've been here actually before that every Thursday, but 62 podcasts and 83 Thursdays so far, going back 2014. This law, it's a matter of safety and health of women, children, adults, everybody.
Great.
And I live with a school teacher, so she's going to be very happy you're here.
We appreciate it.
I know you guys do. You're good. So we're moving, and
Yeah.
I've used this line on a
Thanks
pretty
for that.
regular basis. No, I wanted to make the connection for a lot of reasons.
Yeah.
I kept using this line when we first started, and Ken, I think I said this to you when I first sought you out because I was trying to get involved on my new world in advocacy. It's really a question of if, not when, any longer. I'm sorry, when, not if.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. And you're now starting to hear that. I mean, we're having
Yeah.
legislators say that now, and I think this inevitability is a good thing. It's a question of how we get the law right now.
Right, exactly.
And I was, I have a lot of respect for guys like Ed Forcione, pioneers in this effort. My two idols I'm sitting in front of here, but you were one of the people that trained me in the original one. I'm happy to have these discussions about what minority representation looks like in this industry. I'm happy to talk about with Chris Goldstein about whether decrim's the right approach first or whatever, but that shows me that we're moving forward now. This is a question of perfecting the law, not whether we can get it done anymore. And then we're all going to have to come together. Everybody's experiences and abilities can be folded in here to write a good law now. We have Colorado and other jurisdictions to model after, but Jersey's different, and we should write a law that works for Jersey.
Well, we certainly hope that one of our priorities is to keep a home cultivation.
Without
provision,
question, has to be, because it'll help keep costs down.
Affordable.
Too.
Right. And it's the antidote to big marijuana or the corporate control.
Agreed.
And it allows access to marijuana for people of any income level.
Agreed.
So
And, when
that's so important.
when people see what we're doing and know we're banging our head on a brick wall a lot every Thursday, everything we do here, that serves a purpose. As you're well aware that can you see how hard it is when it's sick people and they can't even get the law working for them? The only way all patients are going to get their medicine is through legalization for adult social use.
It is true.
It's the only way. So the coalition was formed strictly to not deal with anything other than medical marijuana. Was it 3 years ago? The board unanimously said we need to change our mission statement.
2014.
It was the only way that everybody's going to get it. What are you going to tell if you get to 90% of everybody that deserves it? What do you tell the other 10%? We're going home? No. I'd like to go home, by the way. I'd like to do something else on Thursdays.
There's no good reason anymore to prevent this. And I think that the good reasons that folks have legitimately tried to throw out there have been debunked. And I think we're at a place right now is that why? Why would we not do this any longer? And I think the beauty of this is there's becoming a majority of the public that are getting to that place. We're seeing now in the polling that's out there.
60% in the last poll.
It's incredible.
60.
And by the way, medicinal support is in the 80s and 90s now. And you remember 2008, 2009, and way back in the day when I first met you, we were nowhere close to those numbers on even a medicinal. So this is changing, and the elected officials lag a little bit behind.
Yeah,
but
always.
they will be there as well. And there's a responsible way, I think, to engage in this debate. There's an irresponsible way to engage in the debate, but I'm seeing a lot of responsible new efforts going on right now. And Scutari's trip, which was a little, Bill and Ted's Exit Adventure kind of thing.
Yeah.
They were joking around and some
There
sarcasm.
were jokes a little joke in every news report.
I've gotten to this place. When I first got involved in this, I think I told you guys this story. My wife said to me, she's like, you've been involved in government for 20 years. You're a lawyer. You're in a new place. You're in a new job. Why do you want to get involved in this, right? Do you want to why do you want to become Mr. Pod in a way, that kind of thing. And I said, I don't. I want to help the effort. I'm not looking to do that, but you become that. I told you the story about the guy in my block that wanted me to move off because he read a story about me advocating for this. That's starting to change, though. I think
I
people
hadn't heard that.
it was pretty nasty, and it is what it is. But this is changing, and people are becoming more accepting of it on a regularized basis. And I think that's the most important thing, that when we legalize, it takes the stigma away. Whether it's medicinal or recreational, there should be no stigma attached to this. You shouldn't be judged.
And that's a
because you
lot of
decide to do
stigma
this.
over a lot of years to get rid of, and so that's lagging behind everything, mostly.
This long harangue I got is that the conversation is, you guys have, as well, you've heard every joke, right? When people are going to grassroots effort. Yeah, sure you are, right?
Got any samples?
Yep. And you do it, but I've noticed now that the nervous jokes sort of go away when you're having these conversations, and certainly we were in Colorado, jokes were kind of downplayed. People were asking very substantive, legitimate questions on how to make this work, how to have it be effective.
Well, it's got a good possibility of happening, and when I did the math, if all things work well, 2018 is what I figured, and then I read that somebody else in a news account said that's not at all unlikely. It's a lot easier for people to push for something when you actually have a goal beyond someday.
We all have to. Everybody comes at this from a different place, and I've joked about this in some ways. And I, as a former budget guy, I come at this from the money side, right? The revenue is going to help drive some of this too for the state. So to that end, I suspect you'll have this. In 2018, the new governor will be seated, whomever that governor will be. We don't know yet. That governor will be seated in January. The budget will be due on June 30th, and it will be a hellacious time, right? In that time period with a new governor coming in. Having to deal with still significant budget issues, I suspect those budget pressures will, and the fact that we are already moving down this path, will be the crossroads where we will see the first legalized marijuana bill signed into law in New Jersey, and then they'll book that revenue for the first year.
When you have sound bites, I don't know what they're going to be. The one I was saying is I did the math quickly and thought that the 23-cent hike in the tax on gas would have been maybe 9 to 10% lower if we have legalized cannabis. So it's sort of like, would you rather have a 23-cent gas tax or a 12-cent hike in legal cannabis? And people get that. So when you can make it relative, and during the budget negotiations, if we had legal cannabis, we wouldn't be having this discussion. That's going to come up.
Yeah, Phil Murphy, I heard him at a town hall in Ewing the other day, and he was talking about the potential for $300 million a year in tax revenue from sale of legal marijuana.
I figured 250, so good.
So, he sounded very supportive of it in addition to that.
Yeah, that's off of our work at New Jersey Policy Perspective and New Jersey United for Marijuana Reform. That baseline number is just on recreational sales. Doesn't account for income tax revenue that would be generated from.
And it also doesn't account for the savings in avoided social costs,
Correct.
Such as prison, and more people would be having jobs because they are not barred from employment because of marijuana arrests.
The other thing, and again, we have to be careful because, to your point about having this be accessible and affordable is important too. And if it's too overtaxed, then we price people out of the market.
Right.
One of the things that Colorado has allowed is local options taxing. So remember, when one of these facilities sites, right? And again, how it's going to be set up is going to be important. If it's going to be an aisle in an existing store, you're probably not going to see these profound benefits. But if we're going to have one of these places open up as a new storefront, right? You're going to have a new building paying property taxes in a town, right? So there'll be some incentives. And then perhaps a little overlay with some local options taxing on it as well to make an incentive, because we have home rule in our state. So does Trenton want to open up one of these? Does Berlin, where I live, want to open up one of these? They may not. But if there's an incentive to create some local tax revenue as well, that will help reduce property taxes. So there's a lot of help to go around here. It just has to be a balance.
A burgeoning industry, yeah. So what was the feeling about having marijuana available in liquor stores? I understand someone from the Liquor Control Board was with you, or liquor industry?
There were liquor industry folks there. So the trip was made up of legislators, staffers, and then industry folks, lobbyists, I guess, for the lack of a better term. So I'm from the liquor side of the world. I think that there is some built-in benefits, right? You've got an industry that's there already. You've got a distribution system that's there already. And I think they have an interest. You can make an argument, either have an interest in expanding into this new world or protectionist of their world, right? That we have seen that apparently liquor sales have gone down, liquor use has gone down in jurisdictions that have legalized. So I'm not exactly sure what their interests are just yet. I personally am not sure yet what the right mechanism, but I don't think having the ability to just put another aisle in a liquor store is what we're looking for here for a legalized economy. I think what we're looking for here is to have experts like you saw in Colorado, where you go into one of these stores and they can tell you based on I have sore hands or I have I'm having trouble relaxing or whatever, and they can sit down and talk to you about it rather than it's aisle 9, go look it up. There's an absolute benefit to that, and I'm not sure that remember there's some significant issues related to the impact on the minority community in the criminalized market, right? And how disproportionate that impact's been. Well, we want to make sure that community is proportionately represented in this world. So freezing out folks because of income barriers or because of right of first refusals.
I know somebody that's going to be very happy to hear that.
That's where we're headed. So there's a balance right now.
It's great.
The good news is there is no real bill yet. There are bills that are introduced, but there's not one bill that's moving. And I think that the beauty of where we are, whether you're with New Jersey United for Marijuana Reform, where I've been, Drug Policy Alliance, friends at the medical side, and also individual advocates that have been out there, we're all going to be involved in helping to work this. And I think the good news is there's a responsible effort going on to write a good bill, not this normal stuff you see in the back rooms. This has been a very deliberate and open process. I give Chairman Scutari a lot of credit. He has worked a very, very open and, although frustratingly slow from a lot of our points, but I get why. He's got a lot of people to change in terms of hearts and minds right now that absolutely won't sign this. So, but he's done great work. I mean, I've been involved in this effort formally with New Jersey United Marijuana Reform for 2 years, I think, and we're really talking about a time period now where this is going to happen.
That's what I was saying before, having any kind of date that actually adds up, and when I'm doing my calculations and reading the same date that somebody else did a whole separate work on. Yeah, I might actually live that long. That's been kind of my one issue bucket list. I'd like to live to be able to stand up on the highest mountaintop and go, yeah, who was right?
You did it.
Yeah, the sky is not falling. You know, when I was in California the first time, I stood outside a dispensary. I wasn't allowed in, and I kept looking up, and eventually other people start looking up, and then they want to know, what are we looking at? And I'm going, I'm waiting for the sky to fall. I'm from New Jersey. My friend's in this dispensary, and we've been told about the falling sky, and it doesn't appear to be true.
That's funny.
You know?
The press conference is at 12:30 in room 120.
Okay.
120, thank you.
Well, gentlemen,
it's quite an interesting day.
They're getting started here. There's a lot of legislators. See Assemblyman Wisniewski and Bonnie Watson-Coleman's right there.
Come on, Ken, go rub elbows. What are you doing here? You're Ken Walski, and you got a suit and tie on.
Well, they're here for a different purpose, though.
Yeah, I know, but nothing wrong with saying hi.
Oh, you should have seen the Democratic support for Phil Murphy at Trenton State College, the College of New Jersey.
Oh, I bet. I bet.
Yeah. Brian Hughes, all the Democratic, so many elected officials in Mercer County were there in support of his candidacy.
We'll see. They've certainly run a very, very good effort thus far. Although, remember, this is an election that will happen at the earliest back in June for the Democratic primary. Filing deadlines in April. So, as I tell my friends in the Murphy campaign, congrats, you're at the top of the mountain. Now you have to hold it for like 8 to 9 months. On the Republican side, interesting folks around. Jack Chittarelli formally announced, really good, decent assemblyman on the Republican side of the aisle. I think Kim Guadagno is ultimately going to announce. She's going to, still working these issues related to the governor and her role as lieutenant governor. And we'll see. I'm sure there'll be other candidates. John Wisniewski, I think, is formally in the race. And
he is.
Yeah, it looks like Ray Lesniak is not going to be in the race, though. So there may be more.
Well, I would think John Wisniewski and some of these that we're talking about would at least like the cones, and I hope they see the explanation there.
I think they get it.
Well, I mean, but with the picture of Christine and Baroni and a foot traffic study allegation, notice everybody is obeying the cones.
They are.
Yeah, I mean, it's actually a study. I mean, as long as you say so, you might as well take notes.
Well, a lot of lawmakers, they're not lawbreakers, so it's
Yeah.
easy for them to follow directions, right? So.
You got one of my favorite singers playing right now, so I'm happy.
But it's great you were able to debunk some of the myths, about teen marijuana use, for example, in Colorado, and how it has not gone up. They're opponents of marijuana legalization are fond of saying that, we have the highest rate of teen marijuana use in the country in Colorado. But they had that before there was legalization.
Well, and the folks in Colorado were telling us a little bit about the stats. So instead of 10 people that had to be hospitalized last year, it was 16. But what they talk about is the percentage, right, which is a significant, but it was very small. The one thing I would say to folks, and I'm not sure necessarily this audience would care one way or another about this, but this was not a junket to Colorado for a bunch of lawmakers and staff and people like myself to go out and get high. Certainly people tried and sampled things and did it, but it was actually, I guess the other thing I was impressed by is it was a very serious and substantive effort.
Yeah,
and
sure.
It wasn't just some big party. It was very informative, and I'm hopeful that more members of the legislature on both sides of the aisle will go out and experience this, because I think that's the best way you can get comfortable with it, is go see it for yourself.
Right. Yeah. And the reports of people becoming involved in motor vehicle accidents with marijuana in their systems. Well, of course, marijuana stays in the system for 30 days, so there's no clear evidence that marijuana is actually a causative factor in any traffic fatality either.
They've apparently developed and are almost ready to release. So we've been talking about this in terms of a policy issue, right? To take, again, one of the things I think they've done in their world is before issues become big issues, right, where the media runs away with them or they're legislating by press releases goes on, the regulators in the industry are working to deal with these. So they just implemented a new reg in October that all edibles must be stamped with a THC logo that they developed. So if it's a candy bar, on each one of the segments, that was the other thing they did, is they sell them in 100 milligram items. So a chocolate bar is 100 milligrams with 10 milligram break-offs. So that way people aren't really how to field sobriety coupled with a blood test later. One gentleman we've been talking about was a la the open container law in our state for alcohol, a provision that if you had any form of burnt marijuana, there would be a presumption of guilt in your car. So there's discussions, but Colorado tells us they have ready to deploy now new technology that is similar to a breathalyzer that will be able to test your THC levels in your blood.
Oh, well,
that
excellent.
not like a blood test where it shows positive, but actually to tell you whether you're impaired. Now,
how many nanograms per milliliter?
And the difficulty there, though, is people are different in terms of their tolerances, so they probably would create like a middle ground baseline. You may feel, Ken, if you're a regular user, you may say that's very low for me, but we'll all agree at some point this is where it's going to be. That technology may be available before Jersey legalizes, which would be incredible because it takes away another argument from them.
Looks like they're heating up for this press conference here for Women Against Sexual Harassment. Crowd is gathering here at the Statehouse steps.
Very impressive.
Yeah.
Very impressive.
People in Trump masks and Christie masks.
Some very interesting. Hey, Assemblywoman, how are you? We are. We're on the air. Yes.
We're on the air.
Yeah. We're on their air. It's a podcast that we do.
Can I give this to you? Oh, you don't want to say anything? Okay.
Oh, great.
I'll have the New Jersey United for Marijuana Reform guys. We'll come in and sit down with you if you'd like. I was just out on the Colorado trip with Nick's guitar.
Actually, the Medical Society had a program on it last night. So, but because he prescribes it,
I get it.
some
Doctor,
people say, "Oh my God, you're against marijuana." Like, I'm not
you're
against
not.
it.
You're
There's that
conflicted.
guy Evan who was like making this. Actually sent out notes about my re-election, saying how horrible I was.
So who is this?
This guy Evan.
Neeson?
Yeah.
Evan Neeson?
You're kidding, really?
No, and I was like, how dare you? And I all over myself, and you have no idea. You've never had a conversation with me. I was so infuriated. And very bad stuff. So I was like, well, that's great.
Well, thanks for coming over and saying hi.
Do you support medical cannabis? Do you support
Yes,
medical?
I do. I
it's a conflict for her. But
So that's why I don't want to talk
that's
about
the
it.
misconception, though, is that just because she's not publicly talking about it doesn't mean she's opposed, and people have to be smarter about that. That obviously she doesn't want to be out there talking about it because she's a lightning rod. Then when people go, of course she's looking to help her husband's business.
Who gave you a hard time? Even Neeson? I'll speak to him.
We'll take care of him.
I'll
Don't
take
worry
care of
about
him. Don't worry. Yeah, we'll straighten him out.
How
Don't worry.
about
Sent it out to all of my constituents.
We'll have
Oh, really?
We'll have him do a retraction. We'll
Oh,
have him do a
no,
retraction.
no. Okay, we'll figure this
I
out.
mean, you can talk about legalization, though.
Yeah. Would you like to talk about legalization?
Yeah, there was a program last night at the Medical Society. There's a doctor in Princeton.
Dr. Nathan, he's part of New Jersey United for Marijuana Farm. He's really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he came and made a presentation. And,
Well, that's great. Where was the presentation? Where was it?
at the Medical Society. Presenting to
At the Medical Society of New
Right.
Jersey.
Yeah.
You
Oh,
know, to help
excellent.
them, not everybody's supportive.
Right.
It's interesting. Was one thing he was saying is some of it's generation. The older docs would be like, "What do you need medical marijuana for?"
Sure.
The younger docs, And I can't. My husband's not younger, but he's a cancer doctor, so for him, he uses it all the time. So, but you have to be certified to prescribe it and all of that. So,
Right.
I mean, I'm sure he'd be happy to work with you at any time.
Well, thank you.
It's
good seeing you.
Thank you. Take care. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm Ken Walsty, the executive director.
Nice to meet you. As I said, Nancy Pinkin, Assemblywoman Pinkin.
That was great. Wish I could have heard it better, but that was great.
It was good.
I understand.
We're and listen, this is a great example of somebody that's with us. But if our tactics aren't right, you can turn people off, right?
Yeah.
I get this a little bit better than most because I actually work there with these folks, so I understand these issues sometimes.
Right.
But it's an ongoing process. I think the good work that you guys did here today, though, this is building bridges and building friendships, right, with folks that ultimately will help advocate and be there for us down the line. And this is an assemblage of a lot of different progressive organizations.
Senator Rice is there.
Yes, he is. We have to work on the good senator. He's
Love to speak to him.
he's got legitimate concerns, and I think
he was opposed to medical marijuana. He
Yep.
voted against the post-traumatic stress disorder addition as a qualifying condition. Very disappointed with Senator Rice. It just seems to be the newer norm. That's what bothers me the most, I think.
Can I take all of them at an honest level, right? That this is on the merits and there's a concern. There's not some other game going on. And certainly with Senator Rice, I feel that way. He's articulated to me two very real concerns, so, although seem to be in conflict with one another. One was the concern that the community, and remember, I don't know how old Senator Rice is. I'm 42. I'm in the middle.
He's about my age.
Okay.
I think, mid-60s.
I'm in the middle where I learned how bad pot was and how it was the devil's, medicine and all this. Realized, it's not that bad, and it's anywhere equatable to cocaine or heroin and all that. And you learn that as a young adult, and you figure that out. You realize all that stuff you learned was wrong. We have to deprogram a lot of people much older than myself
Right.
that were ingrained in that, right? The second part. So his concern is that the impact on the community, right? That there's been an academic impact. I think we can work on him and show him there hasn't been. The negative impact on the community has been the fact that we've done exactly.
The laws against it.
His other concern, though, is that this is just going to freeze out the minority community from being involved in the industry. So they almost seem to be in conflict with one another. And I said, no, more importantly, why you should be involved in this discussion. As an advocate, even if you're not there yet, let that catch up with you. This is inevitable and going to happen. So you can even say, I'm holding my nose, but I want to make sure that if this is going to happen, that my people are represented.
Right.
And I think that's where we will get people like Ron Rice into this debate, is that they're realizing the inevitability and making sure that whether it's through minority set-asides or there's going to be specific provisions. We learned in Colorado there is one African-American woman that owns a dispensary in Colorado, right?
Yeah.
And they've been up for 2 years.
How about that?
There are some issues that have to be worked out. We'll need members of the Latino community, the African-American community, and others to be involved in this debate.
And also record expungement. So many members of the black community have been seriously negatively impacted by the laws against marijuana. I mean, blacks are arrested at 3 times greater than whites in the
Correct.
state of New Jersey,
Yeah.
even though we use marijuana at the same rate. So record expungement is a really important part of this too. That would really improve the socioeconomic status of so many minorities in the inner cities in New Jersey.
Without question. And by the way, goes along with that is black, white, orange, purple. if you have a record because you were arrested for a marijuana-related charge, are you going to be able to be involved in this industry? And that's a legitimate question. We think we should. I mean, I think it depends. If you're involved in some sort of violent crime, maybe not.
Right, it may depend.
But I don't think you should be locked out from the industry just because you had a conviction at some point of a law that may not even be valid anymore, right?
Right.
Well, gentlemen, you've been immensely gracious with your time, allowing me to be here. I'm going to poke inside. I got to go get some work done. So,
120, room 120.
room 120.
Right,
Yeah,
great.
Yeah, they were going to book 420, Ken, but apparently there was something else going on in that. So,
Ed Fortune's in there.
yeah. So, but listen, the work goes on.
Oh yeah.
You guys have been doing this for as long as you've been doing this, and you've been watching the incremental inch by inch. I think we might start taking yard leaps now. And then hopefully we'll be running full sprint come 2018.
You know, I never thought I'd be doing the stuff I'm doing at this point. Yesterday, we went to Bayonne. We went up and down Broadway looking for wheelchair accessible places, and there are hardly any.
Yeah.
They're all steps in Bayonne.
Yeah.
So we did that yesterday.
Good for you.
So we're doing different stuff. But yeah, we're going to start our podcast with our group here. What's the name of this group?
Women against sexual harassment.
This is a great group because I grew up as an abused person, and I watched my mom be abused. And this is an important issue to me. So
That's Bonnie Watson Coleman right now.
yeah, so let's pay attention to their podcast. We'll see you in a little while.
Take care, guys.
And I know how important it is for us to move in the right direction with women behind us and the good men that understand and respect our value, our intellect, and who we are to this engagement. We have never, ever, ever been here before. This is unprecedented and absolutely offensive that we are dealing with this kind of trash talking and this kind of assault upon a woman in the presidential elections. Contrary to what Donald Trump believes, this world is not so small as to revolve only around him. And our bodies are not his playground. And it doesn't matter if we are the most gorgeous or the least gorgeous or the sharpest or the least sharpest. It's not about that with him. It's about the abuse of power and absolutely no respect for who we are. Women are standing up against sexual harassment. We're going to wash this out, and we're going to wash him out. Now, I know that there are many of us who aren't so happy with the existing leadership in the Statehouse in New Jersey. And I know we all learned that little saying, peas in a pod and birds of a feather. Flock it together. But even with that, until this person in the Statehouse either removes himself or gets removed, he still represents the leadership in the state of New Jersey. So we are standing together, hundreds of women across the state of New Jersey and good men who are standing with us because we are demanding that President Trump's campaign go where it belongs, which is in the toilet of our experience, and that even with this observation and opportunity right now, that this governor, who has had very little opportunity to show he has any moral cord, that he will distance himself from this presidential campaign, denounce his position as the transition team director, and stay the heck in New Jersey and get us out of the dump he's put us in. So you are going to hear from us some amazing women, and they are going to come up and introduce themselves and the next person as they are speaking. But I am telling you something in here right now. We've got federal legislators, state legislators, county legislators, municipal legislators, county activists, state activists, and municipal activists. We got women standing up in this moment, in this space, not only here, but in their home counties, in their hometowns. Because we're fired up, we're tired, and enough is enough. So with that, With that, let me now bring before you a person who has demonstrated where she stands on behalf of women's issues and everyone's issues. Her leadership as the first African American woman speaker in the General Assembly has propelled our issues and everyday working family issues. She happens to be a black woman. She was a magnificent speaker, and she's a great legislator. My friend, Speaker Sheila Oliver. Oh, don't forget the labor's in the house.
That's right. Well, good afternoon, everyone. First of all, I want to thank everyone that is here. You have traveled from every corner of this state. I appreciate the time you're committing to us today to stand with the women against sexual harassment. It's often said, if you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything. And the women who are here today with the men who support us, we're here today to say in New Jersey, we will not be denigrated, disrespected, minimized, objectified, and victimized. We will not. And the reason we're here on the Statehouse steps is because our governor has chosen to associate himself with this abhorrent campaign and its misogynist attitude towards women in this country. You know, we have dealt with things in this State House, as the Congresswoman said. We have had vetoes on funding for women's health. We've had vetoes of equal pay for equal work. We've had vetoes of every kind of support that women and families could be provided with. And guess what we're learning? We're now understanding why. Our governor has failed to stand up vigorously, vocally, and assertively against the abomination that is candidate Trump. It started back in his primary time when Trump stood on a stage and told candidate Carly Fiorina that she was too unattractive to run for president of the United States. As if that wasn't bad enough, every encounter he has had with a female journalist, with a female interviewer, and with women who have dared across this country to stand up to him, his response has been to, quote, beat them down. Let me remind you that we are standing on the steps where almost 100 years ago, 3 internationally known suffragettes from New Jersey fought hard to get the right for women to vote. Most of you have familiarity with Alice Paul. She hailed from Mount Holly, and there is a homestead named after her. She worked hard for women to get the right to vote, and that was back in 1920. Why are we standing here today having to call out men who call themselves leaders with the barbs and disrespectful behavior they've targeted with us? Now, we're going to hear from some women here this afternoon. One of the things I want to say, there is not a woman in the world, not a woman in the world who has ever not experienced sexual harassment. Not one. And one of our veterans said, don't leave the military out. Let me tell you that a woman put a question on her blog page. If you've ever experienced sexual harassment, write in and tell us about it. 27 million hits came on her blog. So that's what this is about. we're not going to sit down and not stand up for the issue of sexual harassment. Governor Christie, what we want to say to you, you are better than that. You are better than this. We are a diverse state. We come from all socioeconomic levels, all professions, all occupations. When you dare to not stand up and denounce Donald Trump and remove yourself as his transition chair, you are insulting every woman who cares about this issue. Now, with that, I'd like to ask Marcia Marley to come forward.
Trump's disgusting comments and actions have unmasked and brought into the open an unacceptable level of misogyny and abuse that lurks in the dark corners and recesses of our society. And we are saying enough is enough, all right? His defense made me so angry of his despicable comments and behavior. I hope it made you angry too, to suggest that violence, intimidation, and abuse are acceptable, just locker room talk. But as many will say here tonight, this is not just words. It is not limited to the victims. It is the treatment of all women here, and we are saying no. All right? It brought back memories for myself of sexual assault and verbal abuse, as it did so many other women here. All right? As it did of all of us. It demeans us. All right? It tries to limit our power. The national statistics show that in every 107 seconds, an American is sexually assaulted. That's every 107 seconds. 1 in 5 women have been raped, all right, in our country in their lifetime. Unfortunately, in our state, New Jersey, at the last report, there was a 32% increase in reported sexual assaults. All right? This is serious. This is a problem. And as we all know, because the victims are blamed, these statistics underestimate the real problem of violence against women. And Trump's